What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton. Want to thank you all for getting up early and joining us, Lions Talk Live Morning Show edition. And we've got a couple real interesting things to talk about that happened after yesterday's game. Lions, as you guys know, maybe had a reason to tank the game, not to go for the win, play for draft status. Would it really have impacted the draft? Somewhat, but not a ton. Instead, Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions, everybody involved showed their grit, their passion, their panache. They went out there and they kicked some butt in Chicago. Chicago had something to play for, too. They did have an opportunity to slightly move up in the seeding order for the playoffs. And you know, Ben Johnson wanted to prove his worth against his former head coach, against his mentor, and all those sort of things. They wanted to go into that game and prove that they were the number one team potentially in the NFC North, one of the best teams in the NFL, beat up on Dan Campbell, all that things. We were talking about the pregame show. I thought that, hey, the Chicago Bears would go for it on every fourth down they could, try to run up the score. But guess what happened? Your Detroit Lions actually looked like the Detroit Lions from earlier in the season and the last several years. They stood up. Yes, they had some adversity in the fourth quarter, but they stood up, found ways to get stops, and then control the clock, got the big win. What is also interesting, some of the comments made by both Jared Goff and Mcdc. You probably saw that in the thumbnail for today's show. We're going to get into that, and there's a whole lot of stuff to process from yesterday's game. Did you know, for those who aren't a Goff fan, you know what? What did he do yesterday? He had some real words for everybody listening in when he took to the mic, and I think, hey, we can all talk about, pro athletes. They got to be professional or whatever. You could see Jared Goff has heard over his career things, comments about you can't play out in the cold, can't play with gloves, can't do this, can't do that. You know what? It was 30 degrees at the start of the game, actually 31 degrees at the start of the game. It got into the 20s by the end of the game, and I never heard anybody, either the commentators on the TV or in the Dew Crew comment section, mention anything about Goff's hands, his gloves, cold weather, outdoors. That probably goes to show just how well he did perform yesterday, other than one pass. I'm sure we'll get into that. All right, before we get into the 5 headlines now, before we get into the main topic of the day, you probably know this by now. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. We're 67 subs away from hitting 16,100. If you can help out with that, I will owe you a crisp, clean high five. Also, if you could, hit the thumbs up button, the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 more thumbs up or likes. Last, never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan where I reside or the continental United States, go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. I know a number you do, but 269-998-2384. Let's have a conversation, see what I can do to save you hassle, money, just headaches. Make sure nobody's trying to slip in things on you. We did catch somebody doing that to a client, I don't know, a week or so ago. Tried to charge him like an extra $3,000. I was like, yeah, you don't have to pay that. So anyways, you want somebody who's going to work for you, then go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. All right, with all that done, out of the way, let's get the show rocking and rolling and going, because I think there's a whole lot of good stuff talking about as we get now ready for the off season. So without further ado, let's get into 5 headlines now. Feels good to have a victory Monday once again. All right, 5 headlines now. Veteran Lions defender hints they may have played his last game for the Detroit Lions. A to Z sports story by Mike Payton with that one. For those who don't know, there are a number of free agents in Detroit Lions uniforms, and that may have been their final game. There may even be a couple guys calling it careers after it. Meek Robinson, I don't regret nothing, man. I'm just blessed to be a part of a great organization, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it. So does this mean he's not going to come back with the team? As the team already kind of told him that perhaps he's on the way out? I don't know. The only thing I can give is my personal opinion. I do think the Lions are going to transition to some new defensive backs. I do think, no disrespect to Meek Robinson or anybody in the Detroit Lions organization, I just think they've got to get better. Meek, 2 seasons ago, now that this season's over, played pretty dang well. This year, there was a whole lot of up and down with him, and that's not a good thing going into your free agency, the end of your contract. Robinson, I think he's endured himself to a lot of the Lions faithful and fans. Is that going to be enough for the organization to bring him back? I think we'll get some real clues as we get closer to free agency. If the Lions are restructuring a bunch of the contracts, which we've talked about in recent weeks with the team, to try to open up, 80, 100, 130 million, then he's probably on the outside looking in. The Detroit Lions secondary, I think, is going to be one of the areas targeted for improvement. Pay attention this offseason. All right, problems. Terry Bradshaw perfectly sums up Detroit Lions after a messy season. The Mirror US story by Ronnie Robinson. Everybody's going to have an opinion on what went wrong with the Detroit Lions season, so take it all with a grain of salt. Here's what I can say. You could probably say everything's right, everything's wrong. Where do you want to go with it? Who do you want to believe? Let's listen to the Fox pregame show crew when they talk about this, and I'll try to make this as large for you guys as possible.
Not even in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, Washington went in there in the divisional round and beat them. You know what? Listen, it's real simple. You lose Aaron Glenn, your defensive coordinator. You use Ben Johnson, your offensive coordinator. And when you do that, you got to start all over. Then you go out and get in Morton, an offensive coordinator. Do you think to replace Johnson from Denver? And he doesn't do it. And the head coach has to start calling the plays. Ragnow, their center, huge loss was Ragnow. And then at the end of the year, it seemed like it just gave in because their defense just went south, averaged at over 30, giving up over 30 points a game. So, yeah, there's a lot of problems going on in Detroit.
All right, so with that done, what do you say? At the end of the day, I think most of us agree Frank Ragnow's retirement was definitely something that impacted the team. They didn't expect it, kind of caught shorthanded on it. With the coordinators, everybody's going to have different opinions. Most of us would agree John Morton's not coming back, or if he is, he's more or less going to be the water boy next year. Pay attention to that. Calvin Shepard's defense, you've seen a ton of different times this year. It looked pretty dang good, including yesterday. Let's face it, the Bears came in as one of the best teams in the NFL at running the ball. And what did the Detroit Lions defense do? It shut down the run. Bears did not have much success on the ground. Lions looked like they did the first, 6 games or so of the season, and that is without Aleem McNeil. Aleem McNeil, you guys get it, coming back from the ACL, didn't look great. Fox, everybody else, ESPN are going to talk all offseason about what the Lions need to do going into free agency and the draft. If I had to ask you guys right now what to throw out there, what are 3 to 4 things to really concentrate with the defense to do going forward, what would you list? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section if you would be so kind. All right. Analyst proposes the kind of all-in trade Lions fans have been begging for. Sideline report, story by Brad Behrman. I see this article, and I know going into the offseason, we're going to see more and more of this stuff. It's unavoidable. So take it with a grain of salt. But here is something being at least somewhat thrown out there, and that's a trade for Max Crosby. You guys know this stuff's going to come in. We'll probably hear Myles Garrett and 20 other players listed to the Detroit Lions. This particular reporter says the Detroit Lions give up their 26th first-round pick, 26th fifth-round pick, 27th first-round pick, and 27th fourth-round pick. I say hogwash to all that, but they don't ask me. 2 first-round picks would probably be the minimum requirement to acquire Crosby. Goes on to talk about Crosby is 29 years old, going to be owed a lot of money. You would have to have the Raiders take on some of those funds or dead cap hits. Crosby, would he impact the team? Sure. Do I think he's worth 2 first-round picks at this point in his career and other picks plus the dead cap hits or the salary cap implications for the Detroit Lions? No, I don't. That's just me personally. You can have a totally different opinion. But now that we're in the offseason, you guys understand. You're going to hear tons of this stuff. If Brad Holmes makes this move, I think all of us would be shocked by it or a similar move. Now, going into free agency and acquiring somebody without the draft capital, I could see Brad Holmes doing something like that. So maybe Trey Hendrickson or somebody else does come over here. We'll have to wait and see. But if the Lions start restructuring contracts, that's probably the real first indication to anybody listening, watching the show, or me, myself, and I, that the Lions really are pushing chips into the middle of the table. They really haven't done that. They've been pretty conservative under Brad Holmes and MCDC. If they start restructuring contracts, they're doing it with a purpose. They're doing it with an objective. That objective would be, I would assume, to acquire talent for this team. All right, next to the 5 headlines. Now we even have a bonus headline for you. Here's who Detroit Lions will play in 2026. Full opponents list. Marlo Alter of the Detroit Free Press. All right, I got to remember which button it is up here. Maybe that's this one. It is this one. Let me get this off the screen. All right, so you guys get it. The top ones are your home games: Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, New Orleans Saints. And let's be fair, the Saints might be a fourth-place team, but in the last month or so, they've been one of the hottest teams in the NFL. New England Patriots, could they come back to earth a little bit next year? We'll find out. New York Jets, Aaron Glenn's coming to town. Football Giants, the New York Football Giants gave us some problems, obviously, when we played them this year, and they've got some talent. Tennessee Titans, I think you might be happy about that one, even though they're going to have another offseason to try to rectify things. Away games, Chicago, Green Bay, Minnesota, you knew those were coming. Atlanta Falcons just fired their GM, just fired their coach. Carolina Panthers, hey, everybody's going to be talking about this. It's going to be a lightning rod. I want to say for like the fourth time in 5 years when it comes to the South Division, anybody in the NFC North would have won, and one going away, I guess, the NFC South. Why is that? Well, you just saw the Panthers record. This is the NFC North's record. There are no losing records in this division. Each and every one of them would have won this division, and that's the Carolina Panthers at 8-9. Buffalo Bills 12-5. That'll be a good one. Miami Dolphins, wait and see what shakes out there. And then the Arizona Cardinals, who's going to be their quarterback next year? My guess is they're going to go in a new direction for sure. All right. So that's what you got for that. And hey, we're going to go over to the main topic of the day before we get into some fun with the next headline, stuff like that. But let's see what the MCDC had to say along with Jared, the hitman Goff. He apparently has been listening to people in the media. All right, it's been a long season for the Detroit Lions. There's been a whole lot of expectations. You want to prove people wrong. You want to prove, hey, it wasn't just Ben Johnson. It wasn't just Aaron Glenn. It wasn't just this, that, and the other thing. And we've talked about it for, I'd say, the better part of a month now. You could tell, in my opinion, every time MCDC took to the mic, you could see just growing stress and anxiety on him. Not so much after yesterday's game. He was a man with something to say. He did go out and talk to the media. He talked to all about, hey, we've got a whole lot of things to clean up. We've got and I'm paraphrasing all this. It's not going to be direct quotes. That they're going to have to make some tough decisions, and you guys get that. I get that. But the Lions, they've got a whole lot of good going on. Look at yesterday's game. We talked and in the postgame show and during the live cast, what about the rookies from last year or the 2025 draft class? Tate Ratledge had himself a game yesterday. Let's see. Williams had himself Tyleek the Freak Williams had himself a heck of a game yesterday. I don't know Pro Football Focus's grades, and I don't always agree with them. But if I had to give a grade just on those two, I would probably give Williams about a B+ and Ratledge an A+. Go and watch the film on both gentlemen. You guys can understand the Lions need to get back to establishing the lines, both offensively and defensively. You do that, you help control the game. What did the Lions do yesterday? They controlled the game with their lines. Chicago really didn't get anything going offensively. This is something Dan Campbell talked about on the podium afterwards. Said, hey, he was really encouraged with the way the guys approached the week leading into this game from practice and their passion, their desire to want to go out there and finish strong. Talked about the character of the teams. Talked about, the belief he has in a lot of them. Yes, he did point out they're going to have to make some tough calls on who to bring back, who to not bring back. But you know what? I think when you look at the rookie class, most of us are going to agree the 24 class was not strong. But Tyleek Williams had perhaps his best game as a pro yesterday. batting down a few passes, getting a little bit of pressure on Caleb Williams, stuffing the run a whole lot. More and more throughout the back half of the season, you could see teams having to double team him because he was starting to get comfortable. Now let's go to the other side of the line. Let's go to Ratledge. Ratledge yesterday gave up one pressure. That's it. And again, I don't have grades for him. I'm going to leave that to other people. But just watching the eye test, watching how the Lions left him on an island basically throughout the game. What do I mean by that? Bears want to do stunts, pulls, delayed blitzes. Do you give help to a particular offensive lineman? A lot of times this year, because of necessity, you had to do that early in the year with Ratledge. You had to do it with Glasgow. You had to do it with everybody on the offensive line because the offensive line wasn't what it has been. But let's also be fair and give credit or praise where it's due. MCDC talked about Ratledge's ascension, and in the back half of the season, how you could see that's the guy we wanted to draft. We knew he could get there. Yesterday, the Bears did a whole lot of schematic things to try to take advantage of him and Christian Mahogany, to be fair. And you know what? Both guys held up very well. Ratledge right now, if I had to give a grade overall, if you guys ask me, hey, grade the rookies, he's an A+, because I think he's just getting started. I understand every offensive lineman, every rookie is going to have some issues when they first come into the league. But see the last couple of weeks for him. He is no longer the guy you have to help. He's the guy that can handle his assignment and now give help to somebody else. MCDC talked about that a lot. Did talk about the offensive line and how it's going to be a priority for the Detroit Lions in the offseason to try to firm up a little bit more. Let's Scooby-Doo this real quick, though. We all probably understand that may have been the last game for Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow. Panay Sewell has come out and says he wants to remain at right tackle. So if that's the case with Panay Sewell, he remains your right tackle. I think we all get it. He is generationally good. Ratledge, if I had to do the Madden grade, give him a score 1 to 100, I'd say probably going to next year, he's about an 85. He's above average. He's not quite elite. He's right in that middle area. So he's pretty good. Lions get a center. Chris Mahogany keeps playing the way he is. I would give him like an 80, 82 if it was a Madden grading system. And then you got to get a center and a left tackle, see where they go from there. What if one of those guys, though, happens to be Miles Frazier? This was a question asked to MCDC after the game yesterday. MCDC didn't commit to anything. Why would you? You got months before you have to worry about it. But the Lions might have an offensive line that's a little bit more intact right here and now than we were all anticipating going into the offseason. MCDC also talked about, hey, did you ever consider playing for, draft status, things like that? You said, nah, that's not how we're wired. We want to go out there and reaffirm who we are. Again, let's bring up the NFC North standings. This is your Detroit Lions. Think about all the bad calls you got towards the end of the games. Just think of the Pittsburgh Steelers game. If they don't inadvertently call the wrong call on Tesla for OPI when he was blocked into a Pittsburgh Steelers player, the Lions are going to win that game. You can say, well, there's 20 seconds left on the clock. I say the Lions were going to win that game. You'd be in the playoffs. How about the game at Philadelphia where the Lions got called for pass interference, where even the NBC, broadcasters say, no, that's offensive pass interference. Would you have won that game? I don't know, but I know you were robbed from the opportunity. And you can go through a litany list of different times this year where the Lions probably got jobbed out of one win. How many of those opportunities, if one of those go our way, we're in the playoffs and we're all feeling a little different, especially with the way the offense and defensive line playing. MCDC kind of talked about that. He's got to watch it. You can't say, hey, the refs did this, the refs did that. And I can say as a coach, you never want to blame something else. It's within your control. The Lions, as he pointed out, controlled their own fate yesterday. They went out there. And I think even though it's not a playoff win or it's going to the playoffs, let's also consider this. In the last 4 years, the Detroit Lions are the 5th most winning team in the NFL. To some of you, I get that's not going to be enough. I can only say this. I've never seen a stretch in my life where I could say the Lions have had winning seasons 4 straight years and the number 5 team when it comes to victories in the NFL. It's not a Super Bowl. I understand that. It's not a playoff win. I understand that. But we have also seen this organization turn around exponentially. Let that sink in. You are now one of the top echelon teams in the NFL, even though you didn't make the playoffs. Now, going on to Jared Goff, we said, hey, he's clearly been listening to people in media talking about stuff. Jared Goff had a pretty solid day, and he even said, I shut some people up. And, we'll go with that. Not only did he kill it under pressure, going 12 of 15. Again, if you weren't paying attention to live yesterday or watching it on whatever Fox yesterday, they pointed out Goff under pressure has been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL this year. And while that offensive line had to mature this year, he was facing more pressure than all but 3 different quarterbacks this year. Let that sink in. There were only 3 quarterbacks in the NFL that took more hits or faced more pressure than Jared Goff. And look at his final numbers. Yes, he threw whatever it was, 8 interceptions on the season. 8 interceptions is not that much for a starting level quarterback who's going to swing the ball around. That's my opinion. Doesn't need to be your opinion. Also, some other facts for it. It was below 35 degrees. Most would call that cold. And then, again, later in the game, it did got into the high 20s. Goff, nobody mentioned the fact he was wearing a glove on his hand or playing in cold weather. And yet, with all that, he did finish with his 49th career 300-yard passing game. Let this, what I'm about to say, sink in. There's only one quarterback in the NFL in the last 10 years with more 300-yard passing games. That's Patrick Mahomes. He has one more than Jared Goff. Goff has got his detractors. He didn't waste any time choosing his words carefully, but did point out, hey, yeah, he had a boneheaded throw. And again, I'm paraphrasing here, but he also pointed out the fact that nobody was on him after the game about his hand size, his gloves, throwing in the cold, whatever it is. That says a lot about the performance he put out there. No quarterback's perfect. No player is perfect. And Goff is not when he makes mistakes, he should face some criticism for it. But we should also probably understand where he's coming from with that when he told everybody to shut up. Now, I actually like the fact in recent weeks, Jared Goff has been voicing his displeasure a little bit more, whether, hey, we shouldn't give up on the team, keep supporting us, or shut up about my hand size or throwing in the cold. Because let's also remember, it was just a couple years ago in Green Bay in cold weather, even colder than it was yesterday, the Detroit Lions coaching staff, that includes Ben Johnson, by the way, on a key 4th down, asked the game to I think it was 4th and 1, be won by the running game or Jared Goff throwing the ball to ice the game and send Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay with a loss. They chose to give it to Goff in cold weather. And you can go through a litany of different opportunities to say, hey, the Lions coaching staff put the game on the line in his hands. Let's not forget against the LA Rams in the playoffs. Again, another key opportunity. Lions could have ran the ball to try to ice the game. They decided to give it to Goff to throw the ball. We all know that outcome. He hit St. Brown, and basically the game was over other than some knee downs. Goff is not the best quarterback in the league, but I think it's fair to say after 5 years here, he might be the best quarterback any of us have seen in the Detroit Lions uniform. I always try to make a joke of it when I say, hey, I've only seen one quarterback in all my life win 2 playoff games for the Detroit Lions. That's Jared Goff. Eric Kramer is the only other person I've ever seen win a game. Not perfect, but you know what? I like the fact from a leadership standpoint, he is standing up on that mic more and more. And while he may not be a big talker, a trash talker, he's getting a little bit better at taking some subtle jabs here and there. Let's see if maybe he's got a little bit more chip on his shoulder going into next year. One last thing I want to throw at you guys. Was going to have this during the 5 headlines now. Figured I'd save it for here. Let's go through some studs and duds of yesterday's game. This is the last time we get to do it for this particular season, so let's have some fun with it. I'm going to say stud, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hurt, beat up, bad hand, bad knee, bad whatever else in between. He had 100 yards in the first half against the Bears defense. The Bears defense that had been playing pretty dang well as of late. You guys get it. All he does is go all over the place and do stuff. I actually thought he did pretty well. Now, this is going to be a confliction from what I said earlier, but walk with me through this. I'm going to say a dud, Christian Mahogany. The only reason why I'm going to say this is while I think overall his performance has been pretty well this year, he's got to stay healthy. There's nothing you can do about breaking a fibula. There's nothing you can do about somebody rolling up on your left wrist and hand on a run blocking assignment. He did come back in the game and played, I thought, pretty well. He did have one missed block opportunity on the run game support in the third quarter, and there was one other time when Goff dropped back to pass that he missed an assignment. It looked like communication issues between him and Decker to me. You do have to really go back and ask both gentlemen what happened there. Overall, though, I think the Lions' future at guard with Mahogany, potentially Frazier, and Ratledge is looking pretty good. Stud, Khalif Raymond. You guys saw it with your own eyes. He is fast. He is electric. He's also getting up there in age, and he is a little undersized. What are the Lions going to do with him come free agency? That's going to be one of the big keys. But if they did resign him, raise your hand in the comment section if you'd have a problem with it. I personally want it. We'll see what shakes out because I do think he's going to be one of the more difficult decisions. Dud, Chris Hubbard. And again, I'm torn with this one because he's replacing Penei Sewell. I talked about it during the live cast yesterday. I thought he did a pretty good job. The only reason why I got to listen as a dud is because you could tell where he hasn't been out there in a while in an actual NFL game. And there's a couple times he clearly looked rusty. As the game progressed, I thought he looked better and better. But being nitpicky here, and I'm okay with being nitpicky at times, I actually thought, man, if the Lions want to re-sign him and Jamarco Jones, bring them both back next year, it might not be a bad move. Even if neither one starts, you got sound level of offensive line play, especially at the tackle position with both gentlemen. All right, stud Jake Bates, he did miss one from 53, but it wasn't a big miss. And you know what? All he does is pay attention to the new kickoff rules that we've all adjusted to at this point. Lions have a whole lot of faith that he can put it really inside the 5-yard line all the time. And for the most part throughout the season, he has. There's been a once or twice maybe it didn't go in there, but he makes key plays. Early in the season, he made some key tackles because the Lions' special team coverage wasn't the greatest. Go with that. Stud, Tate Ratledge. Already talked about this one earlier. I'm just going to keep saying it, man. This kid is going to be something, I think. This year, I thought he ended real strong, did a great job. I think next year he's going to be even better. Stud also, Jack Campbell. Anybody used to come out and say, hey, the Lions messed up at taking him number 18. I would strongly disagree. I think he is now, without question, the best total linebacker in the NFL. Not going to say he's the best at getting the quarterback, the best in coverage, but as far as a totality, everything involved, Captain Jack is the man out there on the field. All right, stud also, Avonte Maddox was kind of torn on this one. Almost gave him a dud because when the Bears scored their first touchdown late in the game, the fourth quarter, I should say, their first touchdown of the game, there was a miscommunication between him and Meek Robinson. I think live on air, I said that was on Meek Robinson. Watching the replay, you'd see Avonte Maddox comes up on the 5-yard route and gives up the deep center of the field. I would personally say that's probably more on Avonte Maddox, but without knowing what was called from the defense or Kelvin Shepard asked both guys to do, it's hard to really say who was right or wrong. What I can say is he was the most open wide receiver, ran the best route when he made that interception. You can see where the Chicago Bears wide receiver gave up on the play. All right, Duke Crew, I presented this evidence for you. I like where Dan Campbell went this presser. I like what Jared Goff kind of standing up a little bit more and more, saying, hey, you might hate me, you might not love me or whatever, but here's what you can say about Jared Goff. He might be embracing himself a little bit more to some of the Lions fandom by talking some trash subtly to respective teams and reporters, whoever else in between. I like Goff. I don't think he's the best in the NFL, but unless you're really going to trade him and eat some of that salary cap, he's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. So, all right, let's get over to you guys in the comment section, see what you guys have to say about all this, and maybe just a little bit more. So also just one other thing with Jared Goff, just so you guys know, now the season's over, finished with 33 touchdown passes. That's second in the NFL. Interceptions, I thought it was 8. It was 7 apparently. And then he did finish with 4,233 passing yards. Think about all that, and especially behind a patchwork offensive line that was not great for the vast majority of the season. Completion percentage, just under 69%. So have your own opinion. Let me know what your opinion is on him. I know some of you want him out of here. If you don't want him out of here, let me know who we're going to get to replace him. All right, let me scroll to the top of the screen. 1, 2, 3. Give me a second. I'm still scrolling, still going. And I'll try to read through some of the comments. I may not get all your comments. I'll try to get people on as best I can because we got a half hour to go and a lot of comments to get through. Well, Duke Crew, good morning, Duke Crew. Now that the season's over, what are we doing? Question mark. Woo! We're thinking about next year, my friend, and game planning for it. Johnny O, good morning, folks. Back at you. Johnny, good morning, Bo. Hoogadoo. Good morning, Duke Crew. One pride. It was a beautiful thing seeing Benedict Johnson throw his headset at the end of the game. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can tell. I know some people were speculating, hey, would the Bears really even try to win that game? The fact they had all their starters out there, and like you're pointing out, the fact that he's throwing headsets, yelling and screaming at the officials about this, that, and the other thing, yeah, he wanted that game. Detroit Matt, good morning, Duke Crew. What a way to finish the season, beating Benedict Johnson. With how the schedule is made next season, I see no reason why we can't win the North against our toughest games, our Pat Bills. Woo! Yes, outside of the North, yeah. And you got to win the North or be more competitive in it overall. Let it sink in. We beat the first place team twice. Unfortunately, we didn't beat Green Bay or Minnesota once. All right, Trey, what's going to be? Question mark. I want us to lose for the draft going into the game. After the game, I was more than okay with taking the win. Our lines look so much better. They did indeed. And to point out draft order, I know that's a big thing for some of you guys. So if we would have lost yesterday, more than likely, and I don't know the full results, we would have been the 15th, maybe the 14th spot. So really, you moved up or out one spot or so. So is it a big thing? I think I'd rather get the win as a coach. Let me know your thoughts if you would have rather gone for the moving up in the drafts 1 or 2 spots. Montgomery showed his worth for real. I agree with you there, Johnny, 100%. Susan, I pray he's with the team next year. I think a lot of us do. Look at him. Johnny, if they let Monty go, I'm not going to be a happy camper. We'll see what's going to happen. I think most of us want him to stay. Me too, Susan. Michael, Green Sanitation's coach in Duke Crew, !1 pride. Woo! I'll go with that. Good to see you this morning. Lopez, Green Sanitation's from a landscaper in Central Florida. Let the offensive line and defense line fix and get ready to rock and make a run at the Super Bowl. Woo! I don't think it's going to take a whole lot to fix this team. But to your point, I think fixing the O and D lines be a big part of it on this offseason list. Johnny, I don't think he's going to be traded or anything like that. He'll be here next year. We'll see. Until then, number 1, new coordinators. 2, contract restructured. 3, free agent Linderbaum. 4, draft. 5, while doing 3 and 4, assess of the health of Kirby Joseph, Branch, Laporta, Terrion Arnold. Yeah, I think, I don't know, Laporta and Terrion Arnold are going to be A-okay by the start of training camp. Branch is probably going to go a little bit into the season. Kirby Joseph is probably the real wild card in your list there. Just Green Sanitation Dugo. It's crazy to me that every team in our division would be the division winner and in the playoffs if we were in the NFC South. Yeah, we probably have a few more wins too playing that schedule, the NFC South schedule. Johnny L, that would be crazy. Just Drake. I don't want to hear anyone say anything. The Bears weren't playing. Their starters were out there. They wanted that game. We just took it from them. Yes, we did. Well said, my friend. Detroit Matt, at least the good news for next year is either the Bears or Packers will be eliminated with how the Bears look. I think the Packers take that game. Man, I don't know that. I think both of them didn't look great yesterday. And the Packers, I get they had some guys out, etc., but they've been trending down for a while. I want to say they've lost 4 straight games, something like that. I don't know. They haven't done well. Right, says Jess Henry Morris Sr. Good morning, Coach Dan the Duke Crew. What a team. What a podcast. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo, I concur. I say, Manley, good morning, Coach Dan the Duke Crew. What is next? Question mark. Season is over. Thank you and your team, our team. It was great. I appreciate you and your team. Again, thank you very much. God bless you all. And hey, thanks for always being a part of here. Good afternoon in Cairo. David, that's the best Dan Campbell has sounded after a game since earlier in the season. Finally had the weight off his throat. Yeah, I think there was a lot of pressure on him earlier. Not so much yesterday. Henry Moore, good morning, Bo, Johnny L, Hookadoo, and Susan, and back at you. Hookie, what do you got? In the number 2-time champion of the bet of the century is Anthony Denham. Folks, he won himself another $100. I'm assuming from Broski Bear. So for those who don't know, Broski Bear and Anthony long have bets going on about the Lions beating of the Bears, and so far, Broski has been forking up the cash. Let's see, friends. I'll take dropping one spot in the draft for beating the Bears 2026. Let's go! Exclamation point. I like the way you're thinking. We're going to do Grip Morning, Henry Moore. Henry Moore, I was very comfortable with that win over the Bears. Yes, it was a nice way to end the season. Not every team gets to end their year on a win. Detroit will be one of the few. Big Eddie, it was funny watching Johnson call for that, for us to get the intentional grounding, only to see the camera on him minutes later when the refs were now forced to into calling that on the Bears. Yeah, it's almost like you can see it on his face. He regretted trying to get them to call it, and they did call it against the Lions. And no injuries. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the Lions or either team had any kind of significant injuries from yesterday. Johnny O, Grip Morning, Henry, Clark. I got up early just to join you on the live show. Love that end of the season. Hey, thanks for getting up and being a part of the Duke Crew, Clark. Henry Moore, and good morning, Mr. Eddie, Mr. Hassani, and just Professor Chris Steele. What up, Duke Crew? Happy last victory Monday of the season! Exclamation point. Yes. Great way to start the new year. Miles Murray, yay, Lions and Lions pride. We got to love the Lions. Johnny L., what's the good word there, Professor? Bo, the intentional grounding calls were the climax of the game. They were, man. And, hey, Ben Johnson, I understand why you do it as a coach. But, again, the cameras went on him just minutes later when he got a call for it. The Bears got called for it. He knew they had to call it in that instance. I thought when on the long snap, Caleb Williams scrambling through it, that receiver wasn't within 15 yards of that play, and he didn't call it there. But then he turned around and called it on Goff, who clearly St. Brown went in, Goff threw the out, you got the call, but now the officials were forced into calling it against the Bears. Professor Johnny L., class starts Wednesday, exclamation point, laughing out loud, enjoy. Marcus, good morning, Dan and Duke crew, exclamation point, we're undefeated in 2026. Well said, I didn't even think about that. Yes, we are undefeated this year. Jen, good morning, all. Looks like Johnson's locker room was not celebrating making the playoffs. It was a little different vibe, wasn't it? Henry Moore, that almost felt like redemption. Big Eddie, I'll take that. Yeah, I think you're right. And good afternoon to Mr. Hassan. I'm so looking forward to seeing Ahmed on the 53-man roster next year. Just months away, right? Dennis, good morning, all. Exclamation point. I can't believe how much fun it was to watch the visible, angry Ben Johnson do his presser last night after the game. Go Lions. Yeah, I mean, I can only say this for myself. Being around sports, either as a reporter or coach, there's a whole lot of assistant coaches when they become head coaches. They want to beat their former head coach because they want to prove, hey, I knew stuff. I contributed this, that, and the other thing. You know what? As good as the season has been for the Bears, they didn't beat the Detroit Lions at all. So let that sink in. Anyway, a glorious morning to you, Professor Steele. Dre Day. Everybody who wanted the starters not to play but are happy about the win are very confusing. You don't get this win without the starting lineup. Go Lions. Well said indeed. Johnny, let's petition the Detroit Lions to keep Dave Montgomery. See if that works. We're going to do Miles Murray and a great morning to you, my friend. Pat, great morning, crew. Jen, although I would have liked a higher draft pick, there's something special about beating the Bears twice this season. I agreed with that fully. Miles Marker, back at you. Steve Rogers, if it wasn't for the Bears, we might not have won a NFC North game. Thanks for the 2 wins, Chicago. Hey, sometimes it's good to get a little help from your friends. Trim Reaver, good morning, Coach Dan, the Mighty Duke crew. Exclamation point, let's go Lions. Woo! And back at you. Hoodoo. Pat, great morning, sir. Professor Kurt Steele, same to you, Henry Moore. Henry Moore Sr. To me, Jen, that locker room looked a little godsmacked. Ooh, good point there. Joseph, why the heck was Coach throwing the ball hurt my brains? If you're talking about towards the end of the game, right before the Goff interception, we talked about that on the show or the live cast yesterday. You've got first down, you run it once there, you take it down to the 2-minute warning, or you exhaust a timeout from the Bears, and then you kind of force yourself into second long throwing it, third and long throwing it. Yeah, not a good ideal situation. Pat, we've got the tools and we've got the talent. It's Miller time, exclamation point. Going into the offseason, it is. Chris O'Hamore, going to the VA today. Wish me luck. Best luck, my friend. Did Ben throw his headset? He did. Missed that, dang it. Marcus, the boneheaded play calling yesterday nearly cost us the game. We definitely need to experience OC next season. Yes, I do think experience makes a big impact in key moments. Queen Mary, good morning, Dooku. What a blessing to be here once again with my Lions Talk Live crew. We love having you here, as always, Queen Mary. Okay, Professor Steele, happy Victory Monday. Dennis, I agree. Jen, I think that the win cost us a few spots in the draft and maybe the ability to trade back and get another early pick, but I am still enjoying the win. Yeah, I think it cost us about 2 spots in the draft. Maybe somebody else can confirm that. I don't think it was a big move, but there was a bit of a move. Johnny O, good morning. Queen Mary. Jen, any more? Which VA? I'm in Detroit. Let's see, Detroit. Nobody. I'll go with that. Henry Moore, absolutely, my brother. May God be with you. Kurt, Bo, good luck, Kurt. Okay. Yeah, Miles Murray, he ripped it off and then threw it. Ripped it off his head and threw it. Jen, me too, says Johnny L. Queen Mary, good morning, fellas. It's a lot of names this morning. Much love to all my Lions Talk Live brothers. Back at you and back at all of you. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. That's a way to end the year. Happy for our players and coaches. Me too. Hassan and Madley, good morning, my friends. Everybody in the list. Great Lions Talk Live. See you in USA 2026. God bless. Good afternoon to you in Cairo. Henry Moore Sr., good morning, Queen Mary. Johnny O, for work or patient, we'll find out. Okay, let's see. Queen Mary, the Queen of Grit. Good morning, Quentin. Pretty sanitation, Duker. We looked back on times. Yes, we did. Okay. Dre Day, draft picks went from 16 to 17. Not a huge difference. Yeah, something like that. Good morning, Mr. Hassani. Big Eddie, good morning, Coach Dan, the Mighty Dew Crew. My great ending. My wife was even fired up. Exclamation point. Let's pick up a couple of guys and roll next year. Woo! Well said indeed. Professor Kurt Steele, thanks. Michigan Sports Auto, great victory Monday, Dew Crew. Professor Kurt Steele, got to admit it was great beating the Bears again yesterday. FTB. Yes, there we go. Johnny L. Where do you live, Professor? Down in North Carolina. I don't know exactly where, though. Let's see. Hassani Madley, good morning, Queen Mary and Jen. Miles Virus, sub, like, share, copy, please. Jen, time to start work. I'll be listening. Enjoy your work day. Good morning, Mr. Hassani. Dennis, offensive coordinator choice is critical. MCDC needs to focus on game management. We didn't manage the clock well, the final 230 minutes mark at all. No, I would agree with you there. Johnny, Ben Johnson looked pretty frustrated, didn't he? He did. Anymore, Jen, that would be Kurt Steele and Safe Travels' brother. Joseph, why the heck was Coach throwing the ball? I don't understand. Me neither, my friend Dennis. He was flat upset. Yes, indeed. Jen, thank you, Henry. FTB says Michigan Sports Huddle. Skip the Bears. We did skip all over the Bears. Henry Moore, I'm glad to see the doom and gloom subside of the chat this morning. Probably, yeah, after a win. Hassani Malik, good morning, Professor Kurt Steele. Thank you for your vision all year. God bless you, Professor. James, that last victory Monday of the season, it is, and undefeated this year. The dogs are barking in support. Big D, morning crew. Real Andre, what do you got? Learning to win is a process. I think we saw Dan finally learning that it's okay to kick field goals. Agreed with that, 100%. Instead of having empty drives. Dennis, I agree, Henry. We need to celebrate when we can. Pat, Gritty Sanitation Duker, way to end the season. Now it's time to string together starting next year. 11 more wins to go along with this win. Let's make it happen indeed. Big Daz, what do you got? Are you going to be able to sign our guys like Gibbs, Laporta, Brian Branch, except somebody's going to have to do some creative cap space management? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they'll be able to get those guys signed. I don't think it'll be a problem. Okay, good morning, Lauren. I'd say they got rid of the rear. There you go. Indeed, Big D. Rodrigo played very well. Yeah, it was nice to see him get some real run out there. I think they were testing him out, basically. Michigan Sport Huddle, good morning, and Hookadoo. Drew, good morning, Coach D and Duke Crew. Exclamation point, great win and great motivation. Love our Lions. You got to love the Lions, right? Good morning to you. Jerome, we won, but what was MCDC thinking on that 3rd and 1 Jared Goff trick play? It was, that one was bad. The Monty throw or trying to throw to him, sometimes he outthinks himself. Mosmer, Goff, my man, Crazy Legs Goff, Grip City Media, what a win, 100% with an exclamation point. One last victory Monday. Do feel like a new rivalry brewing? Probably. Lions got a rivalry with every team in the NFC North, but you could probably say that about the whole NFC North. John, 4 winning seasons in a row. Let's go. Yeah, first time you could say that since 69 through 72, I think. Robert, woo, and woo back at you. David Green, Sanitation's coach and Duke Crew, woo. Mosmer, woo. What can do? What he can't do is lose the Teddy Bears. No, and we didn't lose to him. That 3rd and 1 play wasn't necessary. I agree fully. Thomas, with the restructuring, Goff, Panay, and St. Brown, and possibly Decker returning, we could open up 120 million cap space. Yeah, and Graham Glasgow. I think there are going to be a couple of retirements. Don't know for sure, obviously. We'll probably know in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month. Lead to all the people who want us to play the backup guys and dumb the game down. How much better does the offseason feel now? It feels a whole lot better going into it with a win over the Bears, right? Dennis, St. Brown put it on CJ several times last night. He did indeed. Thomas, it feels good beating the Bears. The downside was losing draft position. Yeah, but I think it was like 1, maybe 2 spots. Same old soup, just reheated. Good victory morning, Coach Dan and the Duke Crew. Back at you, my friend. Hopefully that soup is nice and warm. All right, guys, I'm going to start powering through since we got 15 minutes left, looking for people who haven't been on as much. Detroit Sports Talk. Hey, Coach Dan, do you think Johnny Moe will be fired? Either that or he's going to be reassigned to a lesser position with the team. John, D-Money, please stay one more year. We need you. I like the way you're thinking. Easy. Hope we get some taller cornerbacks personally. Me too. I think you almost have to make that happen. Jonathan, good morning. Back at you. John, last time the Bears had back-to-back winning seasons was 05-06. Then before that, 94-95, they ain't close bonus to a 4 winning season. Correct indeed. Easy, isn't D-Money under contract for 2 years? 1 more year, I believe, left on his contract. We got pick 17. Meek was playing out of position. He is not an outside corner. I agree with that. Yeah, he needs to play more like the slot. Exactly. Lauren, we're going to do talking about 3-on-3 thugs. We'll find out. Dennis, I believe she is Hookadoo. Rob, we didn't have the year we wanted, but we swept the division champs and beat that Johnson. Not the winning season, but a winning season. Yeah, not the winning season, but a winning season. Built out that in 26. I agree with you fully. Mike, Kelvin Shepard's defense isn't good. We'll see what they do about that in the offseason. Media, I like Meek, but he was getting beat on too many plays. We need a chance on both corners. Yeah, maybe roll the dice a little bit. Okay, dude, that's right. I forgot the mental case. It happens. Dre Day. After the 1 p.m. games, the Lions were projected at 16. Yeah. So not a big move down. Names, draft, D-line, O-line, and defensive secondary. Probably where they're going to go, I would assume at least. Get an offense line. Everything else will fall in place. Yeah, the offense has got all the skill positions you could want. Now, if you can just firm up that offensive line a little bit more, you know what? I think you got something there. Eddie, the Lions could have used Happy Gilmore on defense to give the Lions defense a spark. Okay. We're going to do yes, says Queen Mary. Pat, the rookie Williams looked pretty good at the defensive line yesterday. Yeah, he keeps ascending and improving, in my humble opinion. Mike, definitely our offensive line. Yeah, help. Yeah, I think they're going to go there. Marcus, no on Crosby. He's damaged goods. Yeah, I wouldn't be going for it, but they don't ask me. Kim finally saw our gritty Lions again yesterday. Now time for some tough decisions moving forward. You're right on that. You're going to have to spend some time this offseason thinking things through. Vincent, good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Always nice to hand Chicago an L. Yes, it is indeed. John, they need Tyrion and another shutdown corner and maybe safety. I agreed with all of that. All right, other people haven't been on here as much. Let's see. David, Lions need to figure out how to keep the secondary healthy 2 years in a row. It really hurts. It does hurt indeed. John, plus Ahmed Hassan to take flight. Let's hope so. Brian, good morning, everyone. Good win, but I'm so sick of a crying coach. All right, fair enough. Let's see, media. Hey, Coach, do you think the Lions Super Bowl window is closed? I don't. I think you're too young at this point in too many different skill positions. I think you've still got several years. Hey, talking about somebody we haven't seen in a long time. Yada, yada, badass. Brad messed up. A big-time bum. Goff never deserved that. He needed to fix the quarterback O-line, get him help in the defense. If the clown can't fix it, we're messed up. They'll be fired ASAP. We'll see what they do in this offseason. Craig, Raquel played very well when he was out there. Sign him and get him Meek go, who was somewhat of a disappointment. Yeah, Meek didn't have the greatest season, but I know somebody else already pointed out having him play the outside corner versus the nickel back, I think it has affected him a little bit. Rock, we'll see if they bring him back. I wouldn't be upset if they did. Rob, I'm okay with giving Shep another year. It was his first season as defense coordinator. Injuries killed us again. The defense played well for almost 3 quarters. They did. John, maybe we should draft cornerback in shift first and second round. We'll see what happens. Easy, who cried? Maybe everybody after the game. I don't know. 310, we got. I love how much zone the Lions played against the Bears. Shep is so much more adaptable than Aaron Glenn. Yes, yeah, they were doing that more and more throughout the season. I'm going to do Brian. You always sick about something? Hey, sometimes you got to be sick. We need a real DC, says Vincent. Dre Day, Brian Flores, and so many other great coordinators will be applying for the Falcons job. Yeah, you'll see a whole bunch of them get out there. The other part is you're going to see some real good defensive-minded coaches get fired. If the Lions want to make a switch, they're going to have some real good opportunities to review people. See, Yada, what do you got? And sad part is I don't think the clown can fix it. I truly believe the Lions are messed up for the next year. Ain't nobody's fault, dumb Brad. We'll see if Brad can learn from something. Maybe somebody can help him out. Easy, we need healthy secondary. I agree. Jimmy, what do you got? Good morning, Dan and Duku. Back at you. Skipper was crying, says Professor Could Steal. I think a few of the guys were because they know this could be it for them here in Detroit. And I don't want to see them all go, but not everybody can stay. By the way, Coach, Happy New Year, and back at you and everybody else. Yes, and back at you, Yada. Hopefully you're having a great one. John, it was a good game yesterday. I enjoyed the game. It wasn't as close to the final score either the last first 3 quarters. Yes, first 3 quarters we dominated. Thomas, we have had a healthy front 7 on defense the last month. We have. Pierce Sargent, stop signing injured guys. Get healthy. Free up the money. Don't be cheap in free agency. Get a center. Draft a right tackle of the future and move Sewell over. Yes, we'll see if that's what they do. All right, Queen Mary, the Falcons have let their head coach go. Yes, and their GM as well. Pierce, and please get an edge. We'll see if they do. Lauren, man, we have 3 great rookies with Ratledge, Williams, and Tesla. And I do think Frazier will be in that list in time. We'll have to wait and see, though. Queen Mary, that was fast. It was indeed. Media, Brad needs to spend some money for the offense line, especially if Decker retires. I do think he's going to retire, but we'll see. Dre Day Pierce, would you move Sewell even though he stated he prefers to be on the right? We'll find out. Maybe they'll have to. I don't know what they'll do. Let's see. Big D, the ex-Falcon coach Morris would be a huge upgrade at defense corner. Yeah, maybe. Derek, we don't need to bring in injured players. They have an opportunity to get injured where they were here. Yeah, that's it. I agree with what you're saying there. Lauren, Hutch even had a good day against the run. He did indeed. Rob, yes, losing Branch Joseph was a disaster. The defense was pretty good when they had our safeties. Yes, indeed, they do. Let's see, David, do you think Campbell should have used Bates more than he did? I do throughout the year, but I will say this for MCDC. I think he evolved into using him more, gambling less. I guess that'd be the good way to put it. Drayden, just curious, but he's saying that we will see. We will see. Yes, indeed. Easy. I know Goff is to be protected, every player, or we're messed up. Yeah, if you're going to keep Goff, I think most of us agree, you got to protect him. He's not going to create on his own. I was happy to see in the last, say, month or two, he's moves around in the pocket a little bit more, a little bit, better than he had in the past. Same time, it's not his strength. You want him to play his strength. If you're going to invest the money in him, plus all the receivers, running backs, tight ends, you need to have an offensive line. Let's see. Kurt Steele, Pierce, yep. Eddie, I like the way the rookies from 25 played last night. Lions need to coach get Coach Winkendale, his new defense corner. They would not at Michigan no more. We'll see if they do. I don't know anything really about him. I know some about him, but not enough to say he would be a good or bad hire. All right, let's see. Zach Robinson for OC. We'll see if they go with that. We'll see with that need. Coach Tiny K. Hey, Coach and Duke, back at you. Brian, Coach, crying reminds me of Steve Mariucci crying, talking, calling the player's voice. I just can't stand seeing a coach cry over nothing. Like spilled milk. Okay, laughing out loud. Pierce, MCDC needs to go outside the family for an OC. Probably is going to have to do that. I would agree with you there. McD, easy does any quarterback in the league. I like that. Is not I. Yada. Dan must change the way he practices. That's the number one thing he needs to change. It could be something for them to review to try to keep players healthier. I agree with you there. Bo, someone is seeing themselves in the mirror. Might be true. Miles Bar, great win Monday. Coach Tiny K, I concur. Pat, hey, Coach, maybe you should think about Starlink Internet. It might stop the freezing you seem to be having. Just saying. If I'm having freezing, I guess I didn't know about it. I don't see any of the freezing on my end. Let's see, Thomas. Why the love for Shepard? ? I get yesterday he was good, but the last month we healthy front seven and DJ Reader and Meek, we were not good. I'll go with that. If I am freezing, guys, let me know. I guess at least on my end I don't see it. John, 413 points allowed. That's a few. Easy. Did they just sit Aleem for Tyleek or was Aleem injured? That I don't know offhand. JK, good old Black Monday feelings. I'll go with that. Injured, says Professor Kurt Steele. Easy. Okay, thank you. Rel, what do you got? I'm disappointed at Sewell's comments. I always thought he would be drafted to be our eventual left tackle. He sounds like he doesn't want the challenge. Either that or he's just become adjusted to the right side. I don't know. They can probably still talk him into it. We'll see what shakes out. Anthony, good morning, Dooku. Where are you at, Broski? Yeah, I haven't seen him as of yet. Let me know if you guys have. Big D, Ref, what the heck you talking about, bro? We'll find out. Xavier, greetings, salutations, coach and Duke Crew. Have a blessed day! Exclamation point. Love the show because the Duke Crew is fantastic. I agree with that. Duke Crew is awesome. I like the Lions would have played better against other teams. It is what all we can do now is move forward from here. Sewell is a gorilla in our rock offensive lineman. I concur. Pierce, maybe MCDC can convince Sewell it's best for the team to move him over. Yeah, probably could do that. What are you going to buy with your $100 bucks? With your $100, Anthony? We'll find out. Maybe a delicious Mountain Dew. Eddie, Jared Goff is a bad man. I'll go there. Media, Jared Goff is a beast. Exclamation point. None of our losses was his fault. Fix the trenches. I concur with you there. Derek, he borrowed a glove from Teddy B. Ooh, how about that? Easy. Media is crazy, man. Hey, media can be crazy. Dennis, Was it me, but was Goff moving fast during the last game? I thought he did move around a whole lot more in the pocket. I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed it. David, Morton and Fraley didn't work out. Maybe some accuracy there. Rob, there is no one reason why we had a somewhat par season. Playing the playing game is ridiculous. 49ers had a losing season last year. Chiefs did it this year, and none is crying about the quarterback, head coach, or defense coordinator. Yeah, it's part of it. You don't win, you don't make the playoffs, you don't win the Super Bowl, somebody's going to come after you. Eddie, Jared Goff is quarterback. I like Goff. Jared, if I am Jared, I tell the critics, kiss my behind. I'll go there. Hoodoo, Goff haters need mental help. Maybe. Anthony. But the century number 2 goes to all balls, no D for 2 consecutive years. Woo! Congratulations, Kerry. Goffel cannot take us to a Super Bowl. He's just not that guy. Some have a bad memory. Most important games, choice, interception, fumbles, cannot handle pressure. Fair enough. I don't know. I remember the playoff wins that we had 2 seasons ago. I didn't think he was bad at all. Last year in the playoffs, I do agree against Washington, he did not have a good game plan. Let's see. Easy. He'll be the MVP talk again next year, like usual. Could be true. Miles Margaret. Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown was stellar and fun to see again. It was indeed. Thomas, I'm always. Let's see, Marcus. Chicago or Green Bay will be joining us next week in Cancun. That is accurate. Tilla, the hunt early next week, possibly based on past seasons. Okay. Looking for others who haven't been on as much. Free for all. Keeps what right tackle and Ratledge at right guard. The right side seems solid for the next 5 years. That could be where they choose to go with things. Easy Green Bay beating the Bears for sure. Anthony Cunningham, I'm trying to get a hold of him to give him my cash app. How about that? Probably should get a hold of him sooner versus later before he spends the money. Brian, Frank needs to stay retired. Decker, Glasgow need to retire. I think they're probably going to retire. JK, draft your Ragnows and Deckers, I say. Let's see. Eddie, Lions need Jake Bates. I think they'll resign him, but I guess I don't know. Taylor Made Media, the starting quarterback is always going to be targeted. That's the gig. Yeah, if you're going to have that job in the NFL, somebody's coming after you. Somebody's not happy at all times. Black Jared Jones, it's still grit, baby. One pride, 100%, my friend. Marcus, that Goff INT was a pass interference. I know some were saying that. All I know is we didn't get it. How about that? Rob, I wish Ragnar and Decker would agree to one more year together. We'll see what they do this offseason. Johnny Gas Sports, good morning, Dan and Duke Crew. Back at you. Alex, this season, the Broncos have the most sacks in the NFL, according to the ESPN, and other teams are Falcons, Cleveland, Detroit, and Minnesota. Only one team is in the playoffs out of those 5. So, hey, that's an outstanding point there you got there, and thank you for that. Dr. Detroit, Lebanon, Ragnar, and Decker are washed. Could be. Good morning to the coach and to every single Lions fan. And back at you, James. Would have been nice to have Anthony's opinion. I'll go with that. Extreme Chef, Goff is not the problem. Exclamation point. Droops, Goff is the man. Sign service. Man, I haven't seen you in a second, man. Goff isn't going anywhere. Dan already said this. I agree. Yeah, Dan Campbell did say that. Saxman, I agree, coach, about Hubbard. Solid backup. Yeah, if you can get him and Jamarco Jones to resign, I think your backup positions look pretty nice at the tackle spot. All right, Pierce, no one can answer that. It happens, my friend. Brad, something needs to be done with the strength and conditioning staff. 2 years in a row, the entire defense. I agree. They're going to have to review some stuff for sure. Mina, I really hope we keep Montgomery. I think a lot of us are on that same boat. Rob, wow, exclamation point. I'm your number 3 fan, Dan. Sorry, I didn't get to watch your live much anymore. It happens, man. Just, whenever you can, join. That's all. We'll do what's best for you, my friend. All right, let's see. Easy. Love seeing Ben foam at the mouth and take it out on his team. Laughing out loud. Probably true. Uncle Buzz. Williams needs to work out the jugs gun. Yeah, work on the jugs gun. At least 3 drops yesterday. We come after quarterbacks often for making an error or whatever. But I know we talked about it on the live cast yesterday. You need to apply that to every position. It's not just one guy that does something wrong. It's a totality, but you win or lose as a team. And I agree with you, Uncle Buzz. Williams needs to get a little bit more sure-handed, but he's made some major strides this year, in my opinion. Ben was upset. I agree. Easy. Our offensive line is getting pushed all game. Okay. Dr. Troy, laughing out loud. Moral victories for the Lions fans always do the trick to get them back in the slappy bucket. The only thing I can say is, Dr. Troy, I don't know your age. I know my age. I'm 53. I ain't never seen it in my life. Lions have 4 straight winning seasons. to be the fifth best team in the last 4 years in the NFL. That's something also I haven't seen. Sometimes to progress up the wall, it's one step at a time. You rarely jump from point A all the way to point B and skip everything in between. So I'm happy with it, but you don't have to be. James D. Money, I'll go there. Let's see, Big M. Good morning, Coach and Duke Crew. Small win in a bad season. At least we finished above 500 goal Lions. Woo! I'll take that indeed, my friend. Looking for others who haven't been on here as much as we're into overtime. Riley O'Brien. Good morning, Dan and Duke Crew and Coach Dan. Back at you. Silent service. I like Shep's game plan. I think he stays at defense corner. We need to OC Brian Dable. Maybe. We'll see it all be on the table for sure. Others who haven't been on as much, WTMN TV. We should see what the Deuce Staley got up. We'll find out. Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. Bet up, offense coordinator, offensive line, defensive line, and safety. Lions need to improve in that order. Probably accurate. Miss Emily, broadcast showed Ben's face after the Lions got the first down to get in position to win. It looked like he said, should have went for it. Probably accurate. Brian, does anybody believe Med will be here next year? We'll find out. I think he will be, but I don't know that for sure. Let's see. Ben, what do you got? Good morning, Coach Dan. Thanks for all you did for us throughout the season. All the good info. Midday show up updates. God bless you and Jen. Hey, thanks. I enjoyed doing it. I miss being a full-time reporter, so this kind of helps out with that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it somewhat. And his name is Med Hassan. Correct, it is. Say his name. Silver Surfer. It could be. Easy. Caleb wore a Ben Johnson jersey pre-game. Pathetic. All right. Hey, it happens, man. Corby, good morning. Happy Victory Monday. Back at you. Brian, Hookadoo. Brian, thumbs up. Phil, no Shep. All right. We'll move on from Shep. Great Lakes, has our draft spot been finalized? Yes, it has been. Our draft spot. Oh, I think I still got it up here. Let me get off the screen. We are number 17 for you. All right, Phil, I heard Decker got misty after the game. Probably a strong indication he knows that was his last time. Let's see. I think Shep is going anywhere next year. We'll find out. Phil, draft spot looks like 16, 17. It is number 17. Silent service, we have a defense corner. We need an OC. We'll see what shakes out. Belt up, Phil. I'll take a top 15 pick over a win yesterday. All right. Then nothing wrong with that. Everybody's going to have different opinions. Phil, will Goff try to improve for next year? He could use a bit more speed. I think he has been working on that in recent years. Whether or not it's made a big impact, that I don't know. Leo, at least we beat the Brady jinx. Now we can win all over next year. Let's make that happen. Phil, Dan tried to change the training camp to protect the players. How'd that work? He still got beat up, right? Aleem was injured. He was indeed. Phil, Duke Crew continues. Always my friend. Coach, no freezing. It is on their end. You are all good. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. And there's nothing I can do about the internet receptions at everybody's houses. That's beyond my abilities. Our Great Lakes, talent-wise, you got to have some talent sometimes-wise. Dylan Moore, what do you got? 1990. Will somebody buy Muhammad out? Well, his contract's over. So hopefully they look to resign him, but we'll have to wait and see what they do this upcoming free agency window. Gun guy, broski, time for your feeding. Might be true. Goff made Ben Johnson. Ooh, hot take there. Phil, good OB, and thanks for you both for the play-by-play. Hey, nothing job. I enjoy doing it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it too. Sweep. It was a sweep. JC, with the way the defensive schemes up their pass rush, it left tackle really comes more critical than right tackle. You get your left-handed backup. Does your right tackle become more valuable than left? It comes down to the scheme and how you're game planning the offensive line. So I can't really answer that for you. I'll say good morning, Mr. Till the Hunt. Chuck, I remember drops by wide receivers 2 years ago, and it was an idiot OC. They had J-Mo throwing the INT last year. Could be some facts. Gun guy, 4,000 yards for Broski. Gun guy, Broski, take your pants off. Phil, the greeting after the game by the head coaches wasn't warm or friendly. Probably not. Professor Grit Steele, see you guys at 8 on Boss Up Ball Out. We'll be over there very shortly. Dennis, I did not know we had a Sonic and Knuckles play. Where was that all year? They did seem like in the recent weeks they'd do it more and more, but yeah, probably could have done it a whole lot more throughout the season. But Booth, happy trail, Duke Crew. All done and dusted for today. Another day. See you tomorrow. We'll see you then. Phil, Bates needs competition, probably. I like the Baltimore center. I think all of us do. Maurice, what do you got? Just need to fix the offensive line, stay healthy in the secondary. I concur. Shelby Steve, what do you got? Bradshaw admits the obvious. No Laporta, no Brock, no Kirby, no Brian Branch, no Zeiler. NFL won't mention how dangerous it is to play here. NFL and the Lions in particular is a minefield. It is indeed. Gun Guy Broski, time for feeding. Yes. Let's see. Kevlar Boy, Big Bad Boss Boys. We get a lot of ballers back next year. The window is still open. I agree with that fully. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get you out of here, get you over to Boss Up Ball Out or wherever you may be going. If you would be so kind before departing, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. Be a good human being, and we'll see you guys on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care. Have a phenomenal day. You're still here? What are you doing here? It's over. The show's over. Go home.